It is.
world of sustainable aviation. So yeah, so my role here at SkyTeam is really to coordinate our sustainability strategy and some of our fantastic existing initiatives and some of our new initiatives. For those of you who aren't aware, SkyTeam is the second largest but youngest airline alliance of the three. We have now 21 members. As Ernest mentioned, we're absolutely thrilled that SAS will be joining us, and I know and Sophie's on the call. So yeah, looking forward to working together, especially with an airline like SAS, who's arguably a leader in in many ways in sustainability initiatives. But we have a really wide range of members. So obviously some of the big boys and girls like Air France and KLM and Delta and Virgin Atlantic, right through to smaller airlines, but really right across the world. Aerolíneas Argentinas, Aeromexico, Air Europa in Spain, Kenyan Airways, and Vietnam, Garuda, etc., etc. So plus two mainland Chinese airlines. So as you can imagine, from a sustainability point of view, trying to coordinate our common goals and targets is quite challenging, to put it mildly. It's like the United Nations of aviation. But what I will say is that it's very fantastic to see that sustainability and climate action is really at the forefront of all airlines. Operating models now. It's not seen as a nice to have, but it's very much a need to have, and yeah, as I said, a number one priority. So that's a bit of an intro. I do have a sort of short slide deck to share with you, just to sort of give you a bit of an idea of what we're up to at the moment. But I can pause there if anyone's got any questions.
Is the sharing working, my friend?
Yeah, it should be.
Oh yeah, look, I can see it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, I can maybe even make that better.
By the way, Aunt Sophie has agreed to give a talk, Paul, specifically to the advancements of Scandinavian Airlines.
Yeah, well, I'll be very, very keen to listen into that one, because yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so yeah, as I said, yeah, sustainability is absolutely number one priority for most of our airlines, and likewise for SkyTeam. We're actually only a relatively small organisation, unlike the members we represent. We're probably only about 85, 90 staff, as I said, based in Amsterdam, co-located at the KLM headquarters. And so yeah, if you're ever in Amsterdam, please drop by and say hello. And yeah, we've had to go through quite a sort of a transformation process after COVID, and where there was a lot of questions raised about what sort of value alliances bring to airlines who are really struggling financially after the COVID crisis. But I'm happy to say that there's really, I think, probably an even greater emphasis on working together and collaboration across a variety of areas. So we've gone through a reorganization, and we've got a new corporate strategy, and the sustainability component is part of it. So in 2024, we've got these 4 priorities that we're focused on. A lot of them would probably seem quite obvious to people from outside an alliance, but things like seamless check-in, tracking of customers' bags on mixed metal itineraries, revamping our loyalty program, and then of course sustainability, which I'll be talking about. So I won't go into the details of some of the other ones, but needless to say, in some areas we like to think that we're leading the way as an alliance. In other areas, we've still got a lot of work to do, and we're definitely falling behind some of our competitors. But yeah, I'm proud to say that yeah, we certainly think that through a number of our initiatives that we're arguably leading the way on sustainability as far as the alliances go. So the targets for 2024 were several. The most important one was to formalize this new sustainability strategy, so we could bring everything that we're doing under one umbrella. The Sustainable Flight Challenge I'll talk about in a minute. That's our flagship initiative. We've also developed a set of sustainability standards that essentially targets for our member airlines. And at the moment, they're not mandatory, but we're looking at introducing them as a sort of minimum set of standards that if you want to be part of SkyTeam, that you as an airline have to sign up to. We're also going through our own sort of sustainability or ESG rating process through with EcoVadis, which some of you might be familiar. It's got mainly used, I guess, for assessing supply chain sustainability, but a lot of our customers are demanding that we ourselves are sustainability rated as well. So that's a key initiative for this year. We're also doing a lot of work on intermodality, which those of you who work in the UAM space would find as no surprise. So we see a future where a traveller will be able to book an itinerary and travel part of it by a regular commercial airline connection. Part of it could be a ground transport connection, such as with fast rail, and part of it could even be a UAM connection. So some of our member airlines are really quite advanced in this area. For example, Korean Air and Saudia, and of course Air France KLM. So we see that as definitely part of the future.
That's wonderful. We have at least one, we have at least one person on this call that works in that field. Joseph, are you there, buddy?
Well, I think actually that there's probably another person that's more relevant when it comes to UAM on this call.
Would you say Whisk?
We are working on regional air mobility, but yeah, fair enough.
Thank you, sir. And I guess Whisk, but please continue, Paul.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. I think it's front of mind for everyone. Look, it's a interesting issue because we do need to be aware that urban air mobility isn't strictly solving the issues of reducing aviation emissions. I mean, it's really solving the issue of reducing ground transport congestion and ground transport emissions. But I think there are some really nice overlays, particularly in terms of customer journey and service offering. And for example, some of you may be well aware that Saudia have got quite an advanced partnership with Lilium from Germany, and they're looking at having some of their Lilium UAVs coming into service. I think they're aiming for around 2027. We'll wait and see. But certainly for that sort of last, the last mile, as they call it, the sort of 30, 40 kilometer journey from Jeddah to some of the surrounding areas, you'll be able to book that journey all the way with Saudia and do part of it by a UAV aircraft. So that's really, really exciting. We've got a dedicated team working on that. Excuse me. So look, I won't go through this in a whole lot of detail, but suffice to say there was a lot of stakeholder engagement in the preparation of our strategy, really a lot of listening one-on-one to our member airlines in terms of what are their current challenges, their key priorities in the sustainability space in the coming year or two, what's happening in terms of global regulations in this space, and obviously some of the real headline commitments that the industry's made to be net zero by 2050. Working as an alliance also has some real benefits in terms of sharing knowledge, learning from others who have come before you. There's certainly economies of scale occasionally and accelerated adoption. So there's a number of benefits of when you're working with a group of 18 or 20 like-minded airlines. We also did a lot of I don't know what you call that, sort of blue sky thinking or ideation in terms of what do we see the future for aviation and sustainability, and say for example in 2050, what does that world look like, and what's our place in that world? And we've been thrown a fantastic challenge by our CEO Patrick Roux, who's Air France veteran, and he basically has said to us, what's the aviation equivalent of ordering a vegan meal or getting an electric Uber? Arguably at the moment we probably don't have that. I know some airlines are offering similar things like green fares, but really that is our challenge. In terms of what we can offer to passengers and our member airlines customers, we're not really quite there yet. We're making some fantastic inroads, but what's the a truly sustainable option in terms of an air ticket? Say for example, if I wanted to fly from Amsterdam to Sydney in August over the school holidays. So that's the challenge, and we certainly think that SkyTeam, has a huge role to play in reaching those objectives. So what we did is we grouped, I guess, our thinking into sort of four main areas, which I'll go to on the next slide. Sustainability now is a really broad church. I know probably a lot of the focus of this group, Ernest, is around operations and new technologies and reducing aviation's climate impact, which of course is fantastic. But there are a whole lot of other elements to sustainability now, including diversity and inclusion, accessibility for disabled passengers, and gender equality as well, which are really important and fall under the sustainability umbrella. And we're also very much focused on delivering on those objectives. And then we've drawn up a plan for how we're going to do all of these very ambitious things over the next 3 years. So this is, I suppose, what we call the sort of strategy on a page. We've grouped them into four main areas that, I think other industries call them pillars or roadmaps, but we're in aviation, so we've called them flight plans. And obviously, it's no surprise to see that the first one is this net zero flight plan, striving towards net zero emissions, because that's absolutely front of mind for most of our or all of our members. And under each one, we've got a number of flagship initiatives and then opt-in initiatives as well, because it's obviously up to our members whether they want to participate in all or some of these, depending on where their priorities lie and their own resources.
Can you expand on the Sustainable Flight Challenge for a moment?
I sure will. I'll go through these
four
flight plans, Ernest, and I've got a bit of information on a select group of these initiatives, which sure. And the Sustainable Flight Challenge is definitely one of them. So I'll jump into that on the next slides. In terms of sustainable travel, this is really trying to help our members, customers, make more sustainable travel choices. So we're starting even at the very basics, where we're trying to get a common way of calculating per passenger and per ton of cargo carbon emissions across our membership. It probably wouldn't come as a surprise to know that across the 20 airlines, there's probably about 5 different ways of calculating that. So we're working very closely with IATA. They have a fantastic recommended practice and a product called CO2 Connect, which a number of our members already use, but we're trying to standardize that methodology right across the Alliance. Intermodal travel, I've already spoken about. And then there's other stuff which is kind of probably, doesn't have a big material impact, but in terms of customer facing is very important. And that's, we've got a great new initiative that we've launched to do with improving the sustainability performance of our lounges. I won't say too much about it because it's still kind of in the early days yet, but watch this space, because we've got, some quite exciting announcements to be making on that front. And then the sustainability communications one, and I was actually quite surprised. I think coming from Australia, that's probably not an area that I was, as aware of. I mean, of course, I'd heard about the whole Flugscham movement, led by Greta Thunberg, which I'm sure, and Sophie knows only too well. But the strength of feeling of anti-aviation feeling in Northern Europe is, you really can't, underestimate it. And those of you who read the press have probably seen, a number of court cases involving some of our members in relation to accusations of greenwashing. So what we're very conscious of, and this was directly related to feedback from our members, is the importance of when we talk about sustainability and we communicate about some of our fantastic initiatives and some of our achievements, we need to be really, really careful about what we say, how we say it, how it's presented, so we don't run foul of very strict greenwashing regulations that are in place in Europe, and are certainly coming into effect in other jurisdictions. So to that end, we've worked with an external legal specialist to prepare a set of greenwashing awareness guidelines to help guide our members in terms of what can and can't be said, and also sharing that with the leadership teams of both SkyTeam and our members. And honestly, I can't overemphasize it, because some of our members have gone almost completely to the other extreme, where we're now seeing what we call green hushing, where they would prefer just not to talk about it. They'll do some amazing project or invest in some incredible amount of SAF offtake, but they actually prefer just not to mention it because it'll just get them into more trouble. So it's it's a concerning trend, but I think something that we just need to be aware of. The social responsibility pillar I touched on earlier, but we're doing some fantastic work on things like improving female representation in senior leadership positions and underrepresented positions at airlines, particularly in STEM type jobs, obviously in flight deck crew and engineering, and some of the more traditionally male-dominated areas. So we have a program called RISE, which is it's in its second year now, and it's a senior leadership development program aimed at emerging leaders in our member airlines. And it covers a whole range of issues in terms of being presentation skills and developing a personal brand, being able to network with peers. And we're building up a sort of an alumni, if you like, of these really impressive, talented, well-connected individuals who have risen through the ranks to the top parts of our airlines. And we're looking at developing this further so we can actually then start supporting women who are at earlier stages of their career as well. So that's a really exciting project. The ESG rating one I mentioned, but the e-accessibility one, now this is one that you would think is just something that would be par for the course, but unfortunately, with some airlines, if you're a wheelchair passenger and you want to book a flight, you will, if you want to make a special service request to get wheelchair support, you have to ring the call center. You're not able to do that as part of your digital, booking flow if you were on the airline's website or on their app. So it sounds like a really straightforward thing, but there's a lot of back-end support that needs to be put in place to help that happen. So a number of our members of course already offer this, but we don't have that compliance at the moment across the alliance. So there's a lot of fantastic work going on to make sure that that wheelchair passengers, when they're booking their flights, have the same ease of that customer experience as any able-bodied passenger as well. So that's what we're doing under the e-accessibility initiative. A couple of other quick ones just I'll touch on now. So one is one of the things that our members fed back on was this real need for training and awareness of key, not just sustainability issues, but I think probably more focused on environmental and climate issues related to aviation, such as what are the emissions from aviation and their impacts. What is climate change? What is SAF? What are carbon offsets? Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, particularly on social media, and we're working together with a number of our larger members to develop a high-level sustainability training program that can be delivered in a virtual way to the really incredibly diverse range of airline staff. You can imagine, from an incredibly diverse range of education backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, different language backgrounds, so that we can improve their awareness key environmental issues. And then the anti-human trafficking initiative, again, in this social responsibility pillar, there's sometimes, some quite confronting statistics that we have to face up to. Unfortunately, I think the statistic is something like 70% of people, excuse me, who are human trafficked, a part of their journey involves air travel. And so there's been some fantastic work done by one of our members, Delta, in terms of increasing the awareness of frontline staff, cabin crew, ground support crew, who can identify potential victims, and then what are the steps to take in terms of notifying law enforcement agencies, and also a lot of great work with NGO and support organizations to try and solve this really intractable problem. If we don't think it's happening in sort of in our neighborhood, in our state, in our country, then think again, because the definitions of human trafficking are actually quite broad, and you'd be really surprised at how prevalent it is. So we're very keen to take a leading role in stamping this out, and we think that as an alliance we've got not just a role to play, but almost an obligation to deal with this issue. So so that's that's the sort of the main strategies. Before I go into TSFC, I was just going to give you an overview of our governance structure. We have something called a Sustainability Advisory Group, which is essentially all the heads of sustainability or chief sustainability officers from across our member airlines. They report up to the bosses at the executive board and alliance board level. But underneath that Sustainability Advisory Group, or reporting up to it, are a whole lot of project teams or working groups working across a whole range of areas, as you can see there. And then in terms of the membership, I probably shouldn't be showing people's names, but you can see really a wide range of people and right across the world from our member airlines who are representatives on that advisory group. So I'll stop here, and
that's
I could
quite thorough, Paul. That was profoundly thorough, my friend.
Yeah, and I can. I'll stop here. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take them, and then give you a quick overview of the Sustainable Flight Challenge.
Thank you very much, Paul. I see that Daniela, did you want to speak to the subject of disability? You said something about 25%.
We did some research on that with an agency, and I was shocked to see and hear that 25% of people have some type of disability, and it may not necessarily be obvious. And that's a huge potential, and there's so much there's so much going wrong with people with disabilities, with their equipment in the airlines. It's so difficult for them to even get on the flight. And I think there's a huge potential to differentiate yourself if you would have, I don't know, 2 or 3 seats reserved for easy access, or I don't know, I'm making things up right now. But I actually had another question too, on basically based on Silver's question. I don't know who Silver is.
Well, that's Leslie Silver.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I was wondering about data and what AI and machine learning and innovation in that regards also. Yeah.
Leslie, do you want to represent your question, dear?
Yeah, please.
Yes, because I feel it's such a disconnect. You're looking at all these entities, and there's so many different issues, but it's important to take a step back to see where the disconnect is, whether it's the tower, how many flights are out there. There's been so many problems with the equipment and you're in the alliance that you're covering so many entities. It's important to know how to connect all those entities. and take a step back to get a blueprint foundation. So there's a union in this alliance rather than trying to take on each entity and have a disconnect where you can't even service it.
You want to speak to that, Paul?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I understand the question, but we're an alliance of airlines, and you're saying that we should collaborate more with other organizations like air traffic control. Is that what you mentioned?
Yes, in order to, and the analysis that is key is if you have so many, for instance, the analysis you're operating with aircrafts of this number that aren't even in service, or you only now are down to 3 with this entity. And so there's a disconnect of what's really viable and what's not. And if you're trying to coordinate ground traffic, population, there's all these other entities of service organizations like the tower, not knowing if other aircrafts, there's private, there's satellite, there's a lot of congestion. So my view as a marketer and analysis is that if you utilize what's real with all these organizations to get a better blueprint of how you can service these challenges and reduce it, rather than have it come in a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, is that something you can address, or do you understand the question or comment?
Yeah, well, in terms of collaboration, I think the industry prides itself on working very closely with manufacturers, with air traffic control agencies, with the airports themselves. Operational efficiency, I think it's in the absolutely in the genes of the airline industry, because it's all around reducing costs and ensuring on-time performance. So this is key. No one likes to be kept waiting, and burning fuel means not just burning emissions but burning money as well. So there's a lot of platforms where this collaboration occurs through ICAO, through IATA, through a number of regional bodies across the world. So rest assured that everyone is working together to make the airspace and the operations as efficient as possible.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Leslie. With regards to how do you see the SkyTeam Airline Alliance, how would you compare it to the Star Alliance Airline Alliance in terms of effectiveness and agenda?
Well, we're obviously better. No, I'm joking.
There you go.
They're bigger, and they do a fine job, of course, and they're I guess they're the regional alliance. They have a lot more members. I think they're probably the largest by the amount of passengers that they carry. It probably would be best place to ask Anne-Sophie, because she's still currently a member of Star Alliance. But yeah, on sustainability issues, I think there's always room for collaboration. But frankly, it's a competitive marketplace, and this is a key question: is sustainability a competitive advantage, or is it something like safety, which we just all do together? Anne-Sophie.
Yeah,
Anne-Sophie,
I can just add.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that definitely the biggest change I see, and I'm happy to see, is the focus on sustainability, and the rest I have to get back to you next time. But this focus on sustainability as a main strategy, sustainability flight challenge, I'm so excited that we are going to be involved with that. So yeah, especially in sustainability.
Thank you, Tusen Tak. Thank you very much. Great to see you, Anne. Well, that's great. Any other comments or questions? Let's see.
Yeah.
Vidya, go ahead, please.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Paul. I just want to ask you a simple question regarding the challenges regarding the sustainable flight aviation. So, what kind of challenges that you might be expecting when it comes to the sustainable flight, when considering the kind of technology is been developing throughout these years, and and how you are looking forward for the challenges when it comes to the aviation sector, rather than when it comes to the engineering field.
Okay, well, I think probably the easiest way of answering that is to say that, as most of you probably know, aviation is what's known as a very hard to abate sector. We're really very reliant on Jet A1, on kerosene, because it's a very good, very stable, very reliable, very safe fuel. It's very difficult for us to move at scale to replace it quickly. And I know a lot of you are working in the electric aviation space, which is fantastic, especially zero emissions aviation. But in terms of reducing climate impact and overall aviation emissions, electric aviation, unfortunately, is only going to have a very small part to play initially, because batteries are heavy, and the aircraft that will be flying on them are going to be relatively small and flying relatively small distances. So what we need to really reduce the largest part of our emissions is from medium haul and long haul operations, and for that we need alternatives to traditional aviation fuel. So I'm sure all of you on the call have heard of sustainable aviation fuel. So this is essentially, I just call it kerosene from another mother. It's instead of being made from crude oil, it's made from a variety of different feedstocks. Waste cooking oil, used cooking oil, agricultural waste, forestry residues, even from carbon dioxide from the air. The problem is it's incredibly expensive. It's in limited supply, and this is really the huge focus of the industry at the moment, to try and massively increase the volumes that are being produced, to try and drive down the price, because at the moment the price per ton is about 4 or 5 times of regular Jet A1. Now, in an industry which is running on razor thin margins, some of our members have told us, yeah, sure, we can convert all completely to SAF, but we'll be bankrupt and the airline won't exist anymore. So this is really the sort of kind of existential crisis facing the industry. We have very limited alternatives for decarbonisation, and it's going to require a huge investment, not just from the airlines themselves, but government support and from the private sector. And it's really encouraging to see now that a lot of financiers are getting involved, a lot of technology companies, and a lot of the more traditional oil and gas companies who have very deep pockets and have been making very handsome revenues in this space for a long time, are now finally slowly starting to invest in producing some of these alternative fuels.
Thank you very much, Paul. And Soha, did you have a question? Your hand was up, my dear.
Yeah, I wanted just to talk to bridge between what Paul was saying and silver, I believe. So I don't know what the background is for silver, but I think what she was referring to, if I understood that correctly, we need to really categorize what airlines can do and what airport side they need to do, like tower control or any activities that has been done around the airport. We call it land side, which is not particularly under airlines control, but what airlines can do is something internal, which is, just as a quick example, like what recyclable cups to do or to use, or plastic ones. I mean, there are certain things we can control, and the reason I'm saying that, because I worked with Emirates for over 15 years and I completely understand the operation side. So I can tell there is something we can do internally, which SkyTeam is trying to help, but there's something that is not under their control, and they can basically propose to outsiders like airport side and what they can do. It's a really, really vast kind of a conversation about sustainability, and then SAF is completely something different, which is kind of a fuel related. But there's so much we can talk, definitely Paul and Silver, and maybe I set some conversation offline to kind of go through that.
Yes, please do, Soha. Thank you so very much. Everyone should have the other person's contact information. If they don't, please let me know. I'd be happy to share that. And Chris Fernando, did you have a question or a comment, buddy? I think Chris is there, maybe not. Daniela, I see that you made a couple comments in your in the chat.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't want to hog all the time. We are kind of getting low on time. So, but Paul, if it's okay, I would like to connect with you offline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're kind of almost former colleagues anyway, so that'll be.
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you know Brian Moran, Chief Sustainability Officer for Boeing. Well, he lives down the road here in Amsterdam. So
yeah, I know, and I was positively surprised how much German he speaks. I had no idea.
He's a very talented individual indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, just in the remaining time, I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about our Sustainable Flight Challenge because it's quite an exciting project. It's it's in its third year now. Essentially, what it is, it was born out of the KLM Bold Moves program, which was going on during COVID when a lot of staff were looking for things to do, and a lot of aircraft operations were grounded. It takes its inspiration from the greatest air race, which was between London and Melbourne in 1934, and it really showed what was possible in terms of commercial aviation and international travel. And believe it or not, KLM actually won that race.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly what aircraft type it was, but it was let's just say safety was probably, I think, the number one concern. But essentially, what the TSFC is, it's a friendly competition between what started off as our member airlines, in terms of who can come up with the most inspirational innovation in terms of sustainability, reducing emissions from operations, reducing waste on board, improving the efficiency of the ground support operations, a whole range of different things. It engages very much with the ground, so the staff, the operational staff of the airline. We call them our TSFC game changers. At last count, I think there's about 2,000 of them involved across the alliance. There's a whole lot of different categories that airlines can enter their awards into, and we work very closely with the Dutch aerospace agency, the NLR. We have an expert panel of subject matter experts who review all of the submissions, and all of the submissions are based on actual data collected by the airline, and showing very clearly how the particular initiative saved fuel or saved emissions or saved waste or electricity, whatever it might be. Each of the airlines is also then encouraged to operate a demonstration flight, where as many of these different initiatives can be brought together to showcase what's possible. And so in 2023, the TSFC expanded to 22 airlines. We started including what we call sort of, family and friends, associate or partner airlines of existing SkyTeam members. And some of the results, the headline results, were really, really impressive. I think something like a 19 or 20% improvement in emissions intensity in terms of CO2 per RTK, compared to the same airline flights that weren't part of the challenge. And this year, in 2024, we're moving to the adoption phase. So rather than sort of one-off innovations, I think from last count there was something like 200 or 250 separate innovations that have come out of the TSFC. This year we're moving into an adoption phase where the award categories are really focused on how a particular innovation is adopted into the airline's operations. So rather than just being on a single flight, that it's adopted into, say, 20 or 40% of domestic operations or 50% of international operations. The other exciting development is we've started to invite airlines from outside the SkyTeam Alliance. So at the moment, it's just non-aligned airlines. So we've got Corendon and TUI Group joining us this year, which is really exciting. But next year, we're really looking to potentially expand it, beyond SkyTeam as well. And we're already having some initial discussions with airlines who we would probably traditionally consider our competitors. But as Anne-Sophie said, that we're all, rowing in the same direction in this space. So it really has the potential to be an exciting global competition. At the end of every year, we have end-of-year event. The first one was hosted by KLM here in Amsterdam. Last year's one was hosted by Delta in Atlanta. And this year, it's going to be the end-of-year event is going to be hosted by Saudia in Jeddah, which we're really excited about. So yeah, I'll show you just quickly. This is the kind of the award categories for 2024. So you can see they're broken up into really focused areas related to advancing sustainability adoption in operations, but also boosting collaboration. And then also just improving the sustainability awareness and understanding throughout the business. So yeah, so that's TSFC, a brief overview. Now, the last thing I will say is that due to some of these, how should we say, pressures in terms of how sustainability is communicated by the industry, we're actually going through a renaming and rebranding process. Some of our members are a bit nervous of just the name Sustainable Flight Challenge. So we're going through a process now to change the name. So yeah, watch the space. There'll be announcements coming out soon about a new name for it and a new direction as we head out to 2025 and beyond. So I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you, Ernest.
Oh, Paul, thank you very much for a profoundly thorough overview of your activity at the SkyTeam Airline Alliance. It's a subject we could discuss for hours, I'm sure. You've probably made a career out of it. That being said, any final comments or questions? I will say that one thing that I miss is that we will have representation at the Revolution Aero Conference in London, which is June the 18th and 19th, if anyone happens to be there. Right now, we have at least 2 representatives and maybe a third there. Tyson Motors founder Sanzar Tyson will be there. And one of the teachers from the Oakland Unified School District is representing the Jet Perfect Foundation, Mary Louise Davidson. She spent a lot of time in England and was visiting London anyhow. So she now has a ticket in hand, and she's probably in London as we speak. So that'll be a great conference. And Joseph Morris, thank you for introducing us to that possibility of participating in the Revolution Aero conferences that go around the world. Have you ever participated in those, Paul?
No, I haven't, Ernest, but yeah, there's a lot of fantastic conferences and events going on. What I will say is that I was in London a couple of weeks ago, and I was lucky enough to meet with Virgin Atlantic's head of sustainability, Luke Irvine. And those of you who have been watching the news and developments, they had a really fantastic debrief of their Flight 100, which was the 100% SAF-fueled flight from London Heathrow to JFK. Wow. And some really nice statistics in terms of the overall emissions reductions from that flight, which combined all of those operational efficiencies, the air traffic control coordination, the airport coordination, one of the most fuel efficient aircraft around, to I think realize something like an overall 65% emission saving from that one single flight. So it's a fantastic example of what can be done, and also how the statistics and the data can be presented in a way that a wider audience can understand it. So for those of you who haven't seen it, I really recommend looking up Flight 100 and some of the debriefing notes. It's part of a consortium with Imperial College London, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, and a number of other institutions. So yeah, really worth looking into.
I will definitely study that, and if you know the people there, and if they want to come to one of our meetings, our next meeting we're planning for August, that'd be great for them to speak for a few minutes on that particular subject, because that is one of our points of focus as regards research, sustainable aviation fuel. Anyone else as we bring the meeting gradually to a close, because we want to respect everyone's time and keep our meetings to an hour. Any final comments from anyone? Daniela, how about you, or Joseph, or someone that we didn't hear from? Amir or Maria Romero, thank you for being part of our meeting today. Did you want to say something, my friend?
Yeah, this was very informative. I really enjoyed it. Please continue inviting me to these meetings.
Absolutely, Maria. Absolutely. If that is the last comment, once again, in the interest of time, I will be sending out an overview of what we did today, both the video and with the help of AI. I can now send out a copy, a written copy of what we discussed, and we'll be in communication. And Paul, once again, on behalf of everyone here and the organization as a whole, thank you so very much, my friend, for giving your talk today.
Thank you, Ernest.
Yeah. Hey, Tom,
my pleasure.
You're wearing our Jet Perfect t-shirt, buddy.
Yeah.
If you want.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Shukran jazilan.
Shukran. I'm here to learn, you know.
I can see that, buddy. You're a great guy, and welcome to be. Thank you for being a new member of our organization, buddy.
Thank you. And I would love to send everyone here a t-shirt on the, you know, on me for the
that's very
Perfect
kind.
Foundation.
Oh, God bless you, buddy.
Get me the sizes. Yeah, get me the sizes, and I will get all of them shirts. Thank you, Paul, for your informations.
That's
My
beautiful.
pleasure. Yeah,
my
thank
friend.
you for listening, and thanks, Ernest, for all the hard work that you do. It's much appreciated. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. Blessings to you, my friend, and to your family. We'll look forward. And by the way, it's an honor to be in a position that I'm in to contribute to society in this manner.
Keep up the good work.
I will, sir. Okay, everyone, have a beautiful day, and we'll look forward to being in communication.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Hey, Tom,
Bye-bye.
be sure to send your email to everyone, okay, buddy?
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
sir.
nice day.
Thank you, Ibrahim.
Bye bye Ernest, thank you.
Bye-bye, ciao, ci vediamo presto.
Ciao, ci vediamo Ernest, grazie.
Grazie.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye now. Bye, Essay.